Well,
Don't
that's
worry, no
likely.
one's watching.
No, literally, there's not. Right, 12 seconds. Good evening, welcome back to Vanguard Rovers. My name's Sean, joined with Phil and Nathan, and we're going to go through game week 14 predictions.
Good.
How you doing, chaps? You both good?
Very good.
Good stuff.
Very good.
Two shows. Wow, what's going on? Right. We're busy week of football. We've got obviously fixtures Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday this week, and a full fixtures weekend. So lots of football, lots to get through. So let's smash through it. Um, Phil, why don't you start us off? Bournemouth host Everton, 7:30 tomorrow.
Bournemouth hosting Everton. Taking it from this weekend, I think Bournemouth will want to bounce back from that defeat at Sunderland. I think they've showed a lot of lively character. Everton, they'll also want to bounce back from a really poor showing against Newcastle, but I think it's much more difficult away from home. I'm not sure they're going to be as up for it as they would like to be. And I think they're going to struggle in this one. So I think Bournemouth take them down. Bournemouth 2, Everton 0.
Oh, Nathan, what do you think? Do you think that Everton will come back from last weekend?
Well, I
Away at
think they need
Bournemouth?
to put in. Yeah, so obviously, just to set back to full point, there's two teams coming off a defeat, aren't they? So they're both going to want to see a reaction. Obviously, Bournemouth is a very difficult place to go. Obviously, Bournemouth a bit inconsistent, so of Everton. So I think that leads up perfectly to my prediction, and I think I'm going to go for Bournemouth 1, Everton 1.
Ooh. I'm going to go for a Bournemouth 2-1 win at Everton. I think Bournemouth were a bit poor last week. I think Semenyo's injury affected the game as well. I think it needs to probably start that game. It didn't look a bit, had no impact. So it'll be interesting to see how he impacts the game against them. Everton against Newcastle last week was shocking. At home, you'd expect more from Everton. Poor. We just steamrolled through them in every way. I don't think Ramsdale have made two saves all game. So I expect a little bit more from them, but yeah, I'm going to go for a Bournemouth 2-1 win. With them, we've got Fulham at home to Man City. Fulham coming back off a 2-1 win at Spurs this weekend against the Man City team that have really looked to be struggling times against Leeds. Phil, why do you see this one?
Yeah, I think, like you say, Man City looked really poor in the second half, or did Leeds make them look poor? I'm not sure, but either way, you'd have expected more from them at home, particularly when they're trying to show that they've still got credentials to be in a title race this season. Fulham obviously came out of the blocks like lightning against Spurs, but let's face it, Spurs make everybody look good. Although we have liked what Fulham have done doing this season, but I just think Man City will have too much for Fulham. I do think they'll show enough to beat Fulham. And I think Manchester City will take that game 2 goals to Manchester City, 1 goal to Fulham.
Nathan, what about you?
So I think this is an interesting game. So obviously, you've had Man City on the back of that win, made very hard work for themselves, didn't they? Obviously, of that against Leeds, they've obviously been 2-0 up, and then obviously drawing 2-2, and then pinching it in the last minute. Then obviously Fulham have come back from that really, really good win at White Hart Lane at the Spurs' new stadium. So yeah, I'm actually going to go for a Fulham win. I fancy Fulham. I think Fulham are going to win 1-0. I think they've got the
Okay.
momentum. So yeah, Fulham 1, Man City 0.
Controversial, I guess we'll see. Yeah, wow. Let's move on. Newcastle in the 8:15 at home to Spurs. Fully expect our boys to crack on. Great performance against Everton. Think Chow looked class. Baltimore took his goal really well. Lewis Miley coming off for a rare start. He played really young lad. He's a great talent. Um, Score wise, I'm gonna go 3-1 Newcastle on this one. What about yourself, Nath? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think obviously just to back up your point, you had a fantastic win against Everton on Saturday. Absolutely steamrolled through them. Tottenham losing at home to Fulham, incredibly disappointed. I think you're coming up against a Newcastle team that has sort of now found a little bit of form, and that's worrying for Spurs. Would it surprise me if Spurs were Spurs and come up and got a result against Newcastle? Probably not. No, because we know what they're capable of getting a result. But I think Newcastle are too strong at home, so I'm going to go for Newcastle 2, Spurs 1.
Oh. Phil, I know you love these Spurs get smashed. So, well,
I hope you're not suggesting I'm anything other than neutral, Mr. Dudden. No, this is going to be another Spurs annihilation. Cockerels don't fight magpies. Cockerels don't fight anybody, apparently. They're just utterly shite and will lie down and get beaten once more. I think you can look back over the start of this season and say, well, Spurs have had cracking away form. Newcastle have had cracking home form. So it really is kind of a bit of, up until a week or two ago, you'd have probably said unstoppable force meets immovable object. But, Spurs have got absolutely no fight at the minute. Conceded 11 goals in 3 games. Defence looks awful. Keeper looks awful. Strikers look like they can't score properly. And Newcastle on a bit of a confidence high at the minute. Two good performances, two good good result against Everton, scoring freely for the first time this season. Really, I just didn't have way too much from at St James's Park. I don't think Spurs will put up enough of a fight. I think Newcastle 3, Tottenham 1.
you're trying to match my score, aren't you?
I just think they've got enough about them to maybe sneak one, but so I'll let them sneak one just to make the Spurs fans watching this feel better.
Nathan, Wednesday, first game of the day on Wednesday. It's 7:30 Arsenal versus Brentford.
Whoa. What's your score, Mr. Shaw?
I said 3-1.
Feel again. Anything to hang on to my coattails.
Oh, come on. We need some VAR here. Where's the moderator when you need her?
He's on your side.
Obviously. Yeah, I said 3-1. Yeah, 3-1.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I'll let you off.
okay.
Go on then.
Right, let's move on to Wednesday. Arsenal against Brentford. Nathan, what goes off for this? I feel like mental.
So this is going to be a game where you're expecting Arsenal to come back after. I say come back. They had a good draw. It was a good and bad draw, wasn't it, against Chelsea? So you'd fully expect Arsenal to get a result against Brentford, but this isn't going to be an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. I think obviously Brentford are coming off, a really good win. They scored 3 late goals away at home to Burnley on the weekend. They'll make it tough for Arsenal, but I do think that Arsenal will probably have a little bit too much in the tank. Obviously, you might see a little bit more of a rotation now from the squad. I know that the centre backs are still injured, but maybe Odegaard might get might start. Madueke. I know Jesus is fit as well, isn't he? So is Arteta going to look and maybe play some of these players and see if they can get a tune out of the team? If it's changed on the weekend lineup. So I'm going to go for Arsenal 2, Brentford 0.
Phil, let's hear it.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. We've just gone away from home to the second best team in the country, with our entire central defence missing, bringing back in 3 or 4 players who've been out on long-term injuries, and we've coasted to a draw and probably could have won it if we hadn't been busy, defending against ourselves in the 94th minute. So, I think, we'd like to keep the momentum going, but it's not a bad result against Chelsea. We're going to have far too much for Brentford. I think Brentford have done an unbelievable job this season to come out of what they've come through on the transfer window, and be fighting as well as they are is a phenomenal effort this season. But you're not holding Arsenal at the Emirates. They're not going to stop us. So it'll be Arsenal 3, Brentford 0. Let's go with that. Yeah.
I'm going to give Brentford a little bit of credit. I'm going to give them a goal. I'm going to go Arsenal 2, Brentford 1. Brentford really impressing me over the last couple of weeks. Thiago's on penalty duties. He's in my fantasy team, so hopefully, you never know. Cheeky penalty.
That's called.
Yeah. Sorry, your boys are away at Brighton this weekend. It's a really tough and really interesting game, to be fair. 7:30 kick off Wednesday. Yeah, why don't you take us through this one? What do you think?
So obviously you've got 2 teams that are coming off the back of really good wins on the weekend. Obviously we beat Wolves. It wasn't convincing, but we got the result, and obviously it's a really good result for Brighton away at Forest. So what you've got is you've got a team fourth in Villa, and you've got a team of fifth in Brighton, and this makes an incredibly good viewing for the neutral. So you've got a team fourth and fifth going to go at each other. Brighton is a very tough place to go. However, we do have a decent record at Brighton. We've picked up a couple of wins in the last few years there. Brighton never make it easy for you. Obviously, you've got Danny Welbeck that knows how to score, knows where the back of the net is. I said in our last show that Brighton are very, very well organised and incredibly hard to beat, and I think it's going to be like that. It's going to be I'd say a nervy game, but I think it's going to. I don't think it's going to be a game that's going to be full of goals because I think that the defences are going to be quite tight. I am going to back my boys to win though, so I'm going to go for a very, very tight 1-0 Villa win.
Ooh. What about yourself, Phil? Where do you see this one? Do you think Brighton will have too much at home?
I think it's. I think Nathan's doing his team misjustice. I think, like I said, Brighton have been attacking all season, but they leave themselves massively open at the back. I think that'll suit Villa. I think Morgan Rogers is in form, Marlon looking good. Watkins can't find his shooting boots, but there's enough around him now where I think the goals will come. They look solid at the back. So I think Brighton will create chances, but I don't think they can hold Villa in the current form they're in. The only thing that might shoot Villa in the foot is if they've got one eye on Saturday against Arsenal, whether they rest anybody thinking of that game. But on the assumption that Villa play a proper team, that's the other way of looking at it. They might go, well, do you know what? Let's make sure we get the points against Brighton, and we'll maybe accept the fact we're looking for a draw against Arsenal.
Yeah,
I can't quite read how Emery will play it. I think he'll
I
want
don't
to.
think you're going to see much change. I think he's going to
No,
play more or less the same team
I
that
think I
beats.
think he'll want to go toe to toe with Arsenal, won't he? Because it's a good measure for him on where the team's at, and
Exactly.
then he's got his own personal
He,
grudge
he
against
won't.
us, hasn't he? So
He won't make many changes, Emery. In the Premier League, he tends to stick to sort of the same sort of key group of players unless there's an injury.
yeah,
So you'll probably see who started against Wolves will probably start against Brighton. He may change Marlon for Watkins. I don't know, but it'll be interesting, obviously, like to Phil's point, what team we do put out, and then obviously that tells you where we're going to be at for Saturday.
yeah. But I think Brighton will look dangerous, but I think Villa have got the nous to manage it. And I think Emery's a better manager than the Brighton manager. So I think Brighton will make it tough for them, but I think Villa take the game 2-1.
Well, you both gone for a Villa win there. So I'm going to go against you both. I'm going to go for a Brighton win. I'm going to go Brighton 2. Danny
So after
Welbeck
a
will
bit
be
of
back on
solid
score
for
sheet
me.
this weekend. This week. And yeah, the little. I do think Villa are playing really well at the minute, and I do think they are back to where they should be. I don't get the whole Watkins thing. It's bizarre to me that
It's something wrong behind the scenes
there's
because we
not
know
some
what he's
yeah,
capable of, and
it's not right.
there's rumours of a falling out with Emery, but again, that's what they just are. The rumours. It's a striker that we know is capable. Is extremely low on confidence. I think what he does need is he needs a couple of goals to sort of give him that bit of a boost. And as a striker, you always need goals to boost your confidence. So, like I said, he may start against Brighton. He does like a goal against Arsenal, so he might start against Arsenal on the weekend. You never know, but if you're Watkins, you're looking at that game against Wolves, who are really, they're out of sorts, and he starts Marlon in front of you. That tells you where you need to know at the minute for Watkins that he needs to up his game and he needs to start improving fast.
Yeah. All right. Well, 7:30 again on Wednesday. We've got Burnley at home to Palace. Can see nothing but a Palace win here. Palace unlucky against Man United last weekend. I'm going to go 2-0 Palace. Bill, what about yourself?
Yeah, I think like we said on the show earlier in the week, Palace will want to put this right. They've got two matches last week where they'll think they should have won, and they've walked away being beaten 2-1 in them both. Palace, extremely experienced outfit in the Premier League, experienced manager. They've got a lot of nous, and I just think Burnley have, in recent weeks, shown the naivety in current Premier League. So I do think Palace will have too much for Burnley, even at Burnley. So I think Palace will take it 2-0.
Nathan, what about you? Where do you see them going? Palace too much?
No, I'm gonna go rogue here because I think this is an incredibly tough game for Palace. They've obviously come back off a really disappointing defeat against Man United. First half they were good, wasted too many chances, but then the second half they got done by two not great goals. If you're Palace, if I'm being completely honest, and they want to see a reaction. I'm not sure if Gay is going to be back for the game. But Burnley, obviously, they've conceded three late goals um, away at Brentford on the weekend. They were doing all right for till the first 80 minutes, and then they concede three. So it's not great. But Burnley, at home, inconsistent. I agree, but they are hard to beat, and it depends on what Palace team turns up. I I don't see Burnley winning, but I don't see Palace winning either. So I'm going to go down the middle. And I'm going to go 1-1.
Yeah, 1-1. Wolves host Forest. I think it's fair to say, I think I already know where the majority of the predictions are going to go with this one, and that's probably for a Forest win. I'm going to go. You know what, Nathan? Why don't you go first on this one? What do you think Forest Wolves will be?
Yeah. So
Wolves
again,
at home, sorry.
yeah. So Wolves at home. They're not much better away, are they? So
Everywhere they go.
they haven't picked up a win this season, and we're in December. To not win a game in 3 months of the it's incredibly poor. The new manager bounce they haven't got, which I thought they may have, because you always try and see a little bit of a bounce. They, they may class themselves as being unlucky against Villa on Sunday. They had probably the better of the chances, but they just don't have that bite and that oomph, don't they, to sort of get the results. And it's amazing when you sell your players year after year and don't replace them. You reap what you sow, don't you? And they're reaping, something of a nightmare for if you're a Wolves fan. Forest, probably a little bit unlucky because they had a lot of chances against Brighton to come away with the loss. But I do think that Forest will have a little bit too much for him. And obviously, Morgan Gibbs White is a former Wolves player. He's going to need no excuse to try and put one in the net. So do I think that Wolves will make it a little bit difficult for them? Yeah, I think Phil's touched on it in the last show that Wolves, it's okay playing for showing a bit of heart for 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, but it's what you do over 95, 97 minutes. So will they make it difficult? Probably. Do I see Wolves winning? Absolutely not. So I am going to go for a Nottingham Forest win, and I'm going to go a 1-0 Forest win.
Ooh, 1-0 Forest, Nathan. Therefore, where do you see this one? Too much for Wolves?
Yeah, no, Forest have got this week's charity match, haven't they? So it's there's nothing Wolves can do to stop anybody at the minute. I think the three of us could beat them. So it's not going to look any different. Wolves will not show enough fight. They might show fight for 20 minutes, 25 minutes. If they get a really good performance, maybe show performance for 40 minutes. It won't be enough to stop Forest. They'll want to bounce back from the loss. Like I said on the earlier show, it's an upward trend on Daesh. There might be a bump in the road, but it is going up. They'll have far too much. The Wolves, Forest 2, Wolves 0.
We're going to go Forest 2, Wolves 1. Wolves will get one, but be too much. Yeah, Forest on the other weekend. And they've got some good players, to be fair. I like the look of Elliot Anderson, obviously from Newcastle as Newcastle fan is. He impresses me every time I watch him. A great player. Morgan Gibbs White is quite due a goal, to be fair, probably. He's not scored in a couple of weeks. So, yeah, 2-1 to Forest, I think. Nathan, family affair. You've got Leeds at home to Chelsea. Yeah, Chelsea
Yes.
sat nicely in second out there. They're putting the pressure on Arsenal, coming off a bit of a draw last week. That was 10 men, get a point. Where do you see this?
Yeah. So yeah, this is another interesting one for me because I don't think it's as cut and paste as what everyone thinks. Because Leeds last two games probably unlucky not to get points from Villa and from Man City. And you look at the team, where Villa and Man City are. They can take a little bit of heart away from that. It doesn't get any easier with obviously a home fixture against Chelsea. Chelsea are probably the more disappointed of the two from Arsenal not to get. They thought that they were on top for first 40 minutes of the game against Arsenal. The red card changes it. They go 1-0 up and then they concede. So they'll be reeling and thinking that they can come to Leeds and get a result. I think Leeds need to make it a little bit difficult for them. I think sort of the team that Farke put out second half is maybe the team that will start the game against Chelsea and make it difficult for them. Obviously, Caicedo suspended, but what Chelsea do have is obviously Cole Palmer is coming back. Does he go in to the change of system slightly? But they've got a very, very good squad depth. So even if Caicedo is missing, there's players that can come into that squad that'll just fit straight in. So don't see it being a rollover for Chelsea. However, I do see Chelsea picking up a win. So I'm going to go for Chelsea to win 2-0.
What about you, Phil? Do you think Chelsea will steamroll Leeds, or do you think it'll be a bit
Well,
closer?
I think the only people who can stop Chelsea are Chelsea, if I'm honest. We've said before this year that the challenge for Chelsea is getting up for the matches that they almost seem to think are easy. They've got this young squad who seem to be able to get themselves fired up to play the big teams, but sometimes struggle against what they seem to be the lesser teams. I think their players will see Leeds as a lesser team. Obviously, most of those players are too young to remember what we remember, which is Leeds being a Champions League team and constantly competing at the top of the division, which is where a lot of Leeds fans are. That's where we see them, we remember them. That's where they were when I was growing up, and that's why we see Leeds as a big team. I think a lot of the Chelsea players are far too young to remember that, and I do think they'll be quite dismissive. And they so far the last couple of years have been the matches that Chelsea have struggled with, matches where they think they're going to just turn up, roll into town, and say, "Oh, we're Chelsea," and win the game. I don't think Leeds will make it that easy for them. I think they'll take a lot of confidence from the second half performance against Manchester City. Although I do think Chelsea will be far harder to play against the Manchester City, because I do think they'll come out and they'll be told to come out and press. Whether or not the players do it with veracity is another question. So I do think Leeds will push them to the wire, but I think Chelsea will probably have too much for them, which as an Arsenal fan's unfortunate, because I'd like to think Leeds would roll them over. But I do think Chelsea probably got the bit between their teeth at the minute. I think although they'll probably be dismissive of Leeds, I think they're enjoying where they're on the table, and I think they'll want to maintain that. So I think they will turn up and put a performance in. I don't think it'll be as good as the performance they put in against us, but I do think they'll put the performance in. So I think Chelsea 2, Leeds 1 probably.
Everyone's going to be pretty tight then. I'm going to go Chelsea 1, Leeds. Yeah, I think Chelsea will just have too much. I think Leeds will struggle, but I think Chelsea are starting to work out how to grind the result out now, and that inconsistency is sort of leveling out a little bit, and we're starting to see a bit more consistency for Chelsea now. So yeah, I'm going to go Chelsea. I think it'll be a bit closer than I think it's going to. We've then got Wednesday night, 8:15 as well. Liverpool at home to Sunderland, Phil.
It's going to be a real tester, isn't it? Like we said, Liverpool didn't play. I think Liverpool were made to look good at the weekend by a poor West Ham performance.
And they were poor.
I think, yeah, and I think I can't see that from Sunderland. Even the games they've lost this season, they've not put in a poor performance. They're carrying a lot of confidence at the minute and a lot of belief, and I would imagine they'll think if they can get in Liverpool's face, that it'll be. I think they'll want to make sure they at least test Liverpool's mentality, and I think they'll think if they can get in their face, it'll be a good test to see whether or not this temporary bounce is a bounce, or whether it was just a flash in the pan. So I think they'll get in there, and we know at the minute that Liverpool are ridiculously vulnerable at Anfield, which is bizarre to say, but this season Anfield's far from a fortress; it feels more like a prison for Liverpool. So I do think it'll be interesting to see where it goes, and I do think it'll be a really hard fought game. I'm going to say Liverpool 2, Sunderland 2. Desmond in the house.
Best Desmond of the day. Good old Desmond. Back. By yourself, Nathan, where are you going with this?
Yeah, so I think this, to back Phil's point up, I think Sunderland have been really hard to beat this season. And when they have lost, they've been very unlucky. I think it depends. Obviously, now you're going to go to Anfield from the back of a really, really good win. And Liverpool didn't play great, but got the results against West Ham. Does the momentum carry on into Anfield? Liverpool will then be looking at this as an opportunity to go above Sunderland in the table. I know that seems mad, doesn't it? But where we are right now, and that's what you need to be aiming at. The question is, does he keep Salah off the bench again? Or does he keep the same team? He may well do. Obviously, Isak got his first goal of the weekend. Maybe you might see him sort of go on a bit of a streak. We know he's capable of it. He's a very, very good striker. Um, and for everything that Sunderland have been this season, I still think Liverpool will be slightly too stronger from Anfield. And I know that's mad to say because Anfield has been not the best place for Liverpool. You've only got to look at the Champions League result when they obviously collapsed against a bang average Dutch team. So I think if they can sort of learn from the mistakes, against PSV, I think they will have slightly too much. I don't think that they'll walk Sunderland over though by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm going to go for Liverpool 2, Sunderland 1.
I'm gonna I'm gonna go Sunderland. Yeah, I'm gonna go Sunderland. Represent off. But yeah, no, I think Liverpool after winning against West Ham, it wasn't a great win to be fair. It really looks to really put in. West Ham was shit. I don't think the atmosphere will affect Sunderland too much. I think it'll probably benefit them slightly as well. They're used to that rowdy atmosphere. I think they'll use that in the players. So I'm going to throw out. I'm going to go. We've got a game on Thursday. We've got Man United at home. It's all right.
Oh, how the season plays with your mind, Mister Newcastle fan.
I know. It's just it's just nice to see. It's just nice to see. I mean, yeah, I'm a Newcastle fan, but you know what? Fair play to Sunderland. I'm more excited for the time where Derby is creeping up. I'm just more excited for it. But yeah, just want to be up and around there, don't you? Thursday 8 o'clock, we've got Man United home to West Ham. Phil, why don't you take us through this one?
Yeah, but it's an interesting test for both of them, isn't it? Like I say, Manchester had a wonderful second half. Dreadful, typical first half, really. You thought it was more of the same. West Ham have been looking really good in the last 2 or 3 weeks, but just made Liverpool look good. I don't think Liverpool made themselves look good. I think they were made to look good. So they both. Well, Manchester United need to prove they can do the same again, rinse and repeat, and West Ham need to prove that the Liverpool match was an aberration. So yeah, really interesting test. And I'm torn. I'm not going to lie, because Man United, they're another team who are dreadful at home, aren't they? And better, seemingly better away for what better means to them. I reckon I'm going to go for another Desmond. I can't see either of them having enough to get it over the line, so I'm going to go Man United 2, West Ham 2.
What about yourself, Nathan? I'm going.
Yeah,
Man
so
United
this
to
is
win.
another one. It's going to be a very interesting game, isn't it? You've obviously got West Ham, who wasn't great against Liverpool, and they got beaten in the end, probably by a poor Liverpool team as well. So that needs to tell you all you need to know with that performance from West Ham. Man United, they obviously get battered first half. Should have been 3 or 4 nil down against Palace. But as is football, 2 chances, two goals, not lucky goals, but goals that probably couldn't have been avoided if you're Palace. But they get the win, and let's we look at this. Man United are 7th in the table on 21 points, and the despite them having a very inconsistent season, they're still 7th. And like if the results did go their way, they could potentially find themselves in sort of the European places come on Thursday. I know it's a little bit of a long shot, so it's just the inconsistency of the teams around them. But if you're asking me, do I think that Man United have a bit too much to beat West Ham? I think they do. I don't think it's going to be like a massive, like a end-to-end spectacle. I think it's going to be a very tough game for Man United. So on the back of that, I'm going to go for Man United to win 1-0.
I'm going to go Man United 3, West Ham 2. Get one stupid game. Like West Ham scored. Yeah, I can just see carnage. I can just see. And West Ham can't play any worse this weekend. Man United can't really do any better than they did this week. I think it's going to be one of them games.
You never know.
Worse things have happened. I mean, Jesus Christ.
If you look at
Newcastle.
today's results, like all them, they were all 3-2s, 3-1s. There was goals galore, weren't they? And there weren't that many games on Saturday.
I think this season so far has been the hardest season to get correct scores on this season's been almost impossible. Like
It's because everyone's beating everyone, and that's what makes the Premier League very unpredictable. And the fact that 2 wins take you 5 or 6 places and 2 losses take you down 5 or 6 places.
yeah, absolutely.
That's where
It's tight this year. Tight this year.
It is. Well, I suppose we're only on 13 games in, aren't we? So, it's still close enough that you've got little bumps in form, keeping people tight, haven't you? But, it has been difficult to try and work out who's going to beat who.
No.
But you look at the results that happen in midweek. You could see Arsenal potentially going, another 3 points. That takes them on to 33 points if they get the result against Brentford. Man City could come unstuck against Fulham. Chelsea could, they've got a really difficult game at Ellen Road. Villa then obviously go to Brighton. So then you look, if Sunderland do get the results at Anfield, then they could find themselves third again. It's very, very inconsistent and very congested at there. But you look at sort of all the way down to 14th, Everton on 18th. 3 wins there, it takes you 5 or 6 places up. It's so crazy, this league.
Every fixture's got some sort of action, and everyone can move 3 or 4 players. Mental, apart from Arsenal, 5 points clear.
The other thing as well, I'm looking at H1, apart from Arsenal, everyone else has lost at least 3 times.
Yeah, it's amazing. Isn't it?
So yeah, it's crazy. But the fact that it's midweek football, even though it is a lot to play 3 games in a week, this is why we love the Premier League, isn't it? You love midweek games, something to focus on. And obviously this just kicks us off with a busy festive period, which I absolutely love, by the way.
Well, yeah, we'll love it until all our players are injured and his fantasy teams are in disarray and nobody's scoring points for
Until you start losing, yeah.
Sure. That's our prediction for this coming mayhem, if you want to call it that. We're going to try and get our predictions up again for the weekend if we can. So bear with. But yeah, that's pretty much done for this one. Right, guys. Thanks again for joining. Thanks for sharing your insight and questions. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out and go live or any of our uploads. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great evening. See you later, everyone.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.